Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Barry Odell with the Mammoth Spring Church of Christ YouTube channel. It is Wednesday afternoon, July 23rd, 2025. Good to see you joining on today. If you join on, say hello in the live chat. Give the video a thumbs up if you would, please. Lau, hey there, good to see you. We're going to finish John's Gospel today. John chapter 21. As always, recording the audio that will be uploaded to the Podbean channel, and this YouTube link will be added to our church's Facebook page, Church of Christ at Mammoth Spring. All right, John chapter 21. I meant to look back. Let me do something here real quick before we get started in on the text. Let me see. I'm trying to see how many videos I've got. That's not what I'm looking for. Just curious to see how many videos I have on the Gospel of John content. Here we go. Okay, so this will make, from what I can tell, this looks like this will be the 54th video on John's Gospel. So each one's been approximately 30 minutes, some a little shorter, some a little longer. But that's a lot of content on John's Gospel. 54 videos. Hello, Miss Peggy. Good to see you on here. Been thinking about what to do next. Of course, I only do this Monday through Wednesday, so today's the last stream of the week. From my office, that is. I think the plan is we're going to start looking at the book of Jeremiah. So, that'll be something to look forward to. Between now and then, you can sit down maybe and read the 52 chapters of Jeremiah. It's a lot. I don't know how I'm going to divide it up, but it is the longest of all the prophets. So I think that's what we're going to do, starting on Monday. What would that be, the 28th? Start looking at Jeremiah. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Jeremiah, not there yet. John chapter 21. So we have further appearances of Christ here after his resurrection. This is that incident where he appears to them by the Sea of Tiberias, the Sea of Galilee up north. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with my throat here. Anyway, he's up north appearing to the disciples. And it's so interesting to me. All of this has happened. Again, they have witnessed his betrayal by Judas. Peter's denied him 3 times. The arrest in the garden, the beatings, the 6 different trials, his death, burial, and resurrection. And so now you've got 7 of the disciples together here. Look at John 21:2. You've got Peter, Thomas, Nathanael, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were together. Is that 7? Yeah, 7. Where are the other 4 at this point? I don't know. But Peter just says, I'm going fishing. And that's, obviously you think back to when he was called, that's what he was doing. It's like, it's over. We're going to get back to normal. Time to go fishing again. And you think about, again, all that they have just witnessed. It's over. Jesus died. We've seen him, but what now? Kind of maybe lost a little bit in the sense of we don't really know what to do. And so, well, we're all going to go with you. They get in the boat all night. They catch nothing. In the morning, Jesus is standing on the shore. They don't know it's Jesus. He says, do you have any food? No. Haven't caught anything. Been out here all night. These guys are professionals. Hey, David, good to see you. And yes, it is too hot. You got that right. Cast the net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some. They did. And as you continue reading the text, what does that go down through? Oh, verse 10 or 11. 153 large fish, verse 11 says. They've spent all night. Didn't catch anything. Jesus tells them what to do, and I think, see, and that's the thing. We talk about the miracles of John, the signs that John records, and we talk about typically the 7 signs of John's gospel. Well, this is a sign right here. They're in the boat. They're professionals. They've fished all night long and haven't caught anything. And Jesus, standing on the shore, says, hey, throw on the other side. Is that a violation of the laws of nature? I don't know. Is it supernatural? Seems to be. How would Jesus know where to throw the net to catch 153 large fish? They did that. And so they couldn't draw it in because there were so many fish. And then Peter realizes, oh, that's the Lord. That's Jesus. Puts on his outer garment and he swims to shore. Again, very, what's the word? Is impetuous the right word? He's just ready to act, ready to do something when it comes to Jesus. But the other disciples came in the little boat, for they were not far from the land, about 200 cubits. I meant to look that up, see how far that was. But anyway, dragging the net with fish. As soon as they had come close to land, they saw a fire of coals there and fish laid on it and bread. See, that's another interesting thing that I've talked about in terms of the resurrection of Christ from the dead. He's raised from the dead. He's got a body, but he can appear in a room when the doors are shut. He does that twice, in fact, according to John's gospel. And he can sit down and eat. They can touch him. He tells Mary, don't try to keep me here. So this again, we're looking at his glorified body post-resurrection. And we are assured by 1 John 3:2, which I mentioned yesterday, that whatever happens, whatever it's going to be like, our lowly body will be transformed into a glorified body like his. Again, 1 John 3:2, Philippians 3:20 and 21. Bring some of the fish you caught. And so they do that. The net wasn't broken. John makes that mention there in John 21:11. 153, again, large fish, and although there were so many, the net was not broken. Come and eat breakfast. And it's interesting here. None of them dared to ask, who are you? Knowing that it was the Lord. Now earlier, seeing him on the shore, they didn't, but now they do. Jesus then came and took the bread and gave it to them, and likewise the fish. And then it says this in verse 14. This is now the third time Jesus showed himself to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. Hello, Connie, good to see you today. So you've got multiple appearances to multiple people, not just the disciples, but again, 1 Corinthians 15, verses 6 through 9 or 10, talks about the well over number 500 of people that he appeared to after his resurrection. Acts chapter 1 and verse 3, he appeared to his disciples for about 40 days with many infallible proofs. Well, what happens here in John chapter 21 would fall under that category. There's no question that Jesus died. The Romans even knew that. That's why they didn't break his legs. They saw that he was dead already. The disciples witnessed that, and now he's raised. There's no question that he died. There's no question that he was buried, and that now he's alive again. Now, as they were eating breakfast, or when they had eaten breakfast, verse 15 says, we have this interesting back and forth between Peter and Jesus, and the discussion always is like, well, why? What's the purpose of this? And I think, in my opinion, and people can disagree with me, and that's fine. I can't be dogmatic about it, but I think the questioning here falls perfectly in line with the denials that Peter made of Jesus. He was asked specifically 3 times, or stated, aren't you one of his? You are one of his. Your speech, your accent tells us that you're one of his. We saw you with him in the garden. He denied 3 times. And so they've eaten breakfast. Jesus says, Simon. And remember, all the way back in the beginning, Jesus changed his name from Simon, gave him the name Cephas, Peter. Do you love me more than these? Well, more than what do the these refer? Does it refer to the other disciples? Does it refer to the fish? Because again, that's what he was. Peter, Andrew, James, and John were partners in fishing back before Jesus called them to be fishers of men, Matthew chapter 4. So, again, I don't know. I can't be 100% certain. Do you love me more than you love these fish? Do you love me more than you love these other disciples? Whatever the case may be, do you love me more than these? And Jesus uses this word. So this is where it gets interesting, is the word that Jesus uses initially. And just let me pull it up here on my Bible app. What are we in? John chapter 21. John chapter 21 and verse beginning in verse 15 here, Jesus uses this word, agapao. We hear the Greek term agape, and people say, refer to agape love. Well, it's the type of love, it's kind of like goodwill, high regard, holding someone in high esteem. To be fond of someone, one of the definitions is to love dearly, something along those lines. That's what Jesus asks Peter the first 2 times. And each time Peter responds, verse 15 here, the first time, you know that I phileo you. Peter uses a different word. And this is phileo, Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, to approve of, to treat affectionately or kindly, to show signs of love. So it seems to me that Peter uses a stronger, more emotional term in the Greek language in his response to Jesus. You know that I have a deep affection for you. Okay, feed my lambs. Verse 15. Again, do you agape me? Yes, Lord, you know that I phileo you. You know that I have this deep brotherly affection for you. Tend my sheep. Now again, so verse 15, feed my lambs, tend my sheep. And so I'm here in my Bible app again. I'll just look this up. Let's see, verse 15. I should have kept it open so you don't have to stumble around here. More than these, said unto them, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Feed my lambs, arneon, a little lamb. It's that word. But then he says in verse 16, feed my sheep. What is the difference here? Does it make any difference? It is a different term. Any 4-footed tame animal accustomed to grazing, a sheep, as always used in the New Testament. I mean, he's essentially talking about the same animal. Personally, I don't see any significance in the shift in this word, but I could be wrong here. Jesus is calling him, though, to do, so if you love me, here's what you'll do. And that's kind of the pattern of love in the New Testament, though, isn't it? Love is not just a feeling, all right? Do you have a deep regard for me? Do you hold me in high esteem? You know that I have a warm affection for you. Okay, then, do what needs to be done, right? Biblical love is always active. God so loved the world that he gave. Let us not love in word and in tongue, but in deed and in truth. 1 John 3:18. Biblical love is always active. It's just like biblical faith. Part of love is an emotional response. There's no question about that, but it's also inclusive of action. And that's exactly like faith. Faith does certainly involve a mental aspect. You must believe that God is, but you must also be knowing that God is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. So it's not just from the head, it plays itself out. So if you truly love me, then tend to my sheep. Third time, Simon, son of Jonah. Then now Jesus uses the word that Peter uses. Do you really have this warm, affectionate, brotherly love for me? Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. You know that's how I feel about you. And that's an interesting response by Peter. You know all things. You know this. Feed my sheep. So loving God is not just a feeling. It's not just an emotional response to something. It involves action. It doesn't matter what I say. I love God. Yeah, great. How does anybody know? I love the church. Okay, great. How does anybody know that? Your words are meaningless unless you're doing something. We have to understand that. Most assuredly, I say to you, when you were younger, you girded yourself and walked where you wished. To gird, again, they wore the typically undergarments and then longer outer flowing kind of garments. To gird yourself would be to kind of gather those clothes up so you could walk swiftly, maybe run. Gird up the loins of your mind, for instance, 1 Peter 1:13. So you did that when you were younger. You went wherever you wanted to. But when you're old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will gird you and carry you where you do not wish. This he spoke, signifying that Peter would die the death of a martyr. Peter is going to be put to death because of his faith. And when he had spoken this, he said to him, "Follow me. Feed my sheep. Feed my sheep." It says it 3 times. And then he says, here's what's going to happen to you in life later on. Follow me. So again, I think there is when you read verses 15 through 19 here, these 3 questions of do you love me? I think that correlates to the 3 denials. And the way Jesus hits him that last time, he uses the word that Peter uses. Is that really the way you feel about me? Yes. All right then. Here's what's going to happen. But you need to follow me. And Peter, this is so interesting. It was at the, let me turn back here in my Bible. It was when they were gathered around the table, John chapters 13 through 17. They're trying to figure out who is going to betray Jesus. And, what verse is it? Yeah, John 13, verse 23. Jesus has just said, one of you will betray me. Well, they're trying to figure it out among themselves. John 13, 23 says, now there was leaning on Jesus' bosom one of his disciples whom Jesus loved. Well, that's John. Peter therefore motioned to John to ask Jesus who he was talking about. So now we're here in John chapter 21. Jesus has just addressed Peter in front of the others about his affection for him. And there's John. So similar to John chapter 13, Peter turning around saw the disciple whom Jesus loved following, who also had leaned on his breast at the supper. There you go, what I just read to you. Who said, Lord, who is it betrays you? Peter, seeing him, said to Jesus, well, what about this guy? What's going to happen with John? So it's like Peter's, what would you say, easily distracted. The Lord tells him something and his mind it's like he never slows down. Well, what about John? Jesus said to him, if I will that he remain till I come, what is that to you? What business is, basically all he's saying here, Jesus is saying in response to Peter is, you need to mind your own business. That's the last part of verse 22. You follow me. In essence, it really doesn't matter what happens to John in regard to your responsibility to love me, to feed my sheep, and to follow me. Now, again, as is often the case with the disciples, then this saying went out among the brethren that the disciple would not die. There's a misunderstanding. Jesus didn't say that. But if I will that he remain till I come, what is that to you? Jesus is, throughout the Gospels, you see people, well, again, it goes back to John chapter 2, destroy this temple and in 3 days I will rebuild it. And what did they say? Well, this temple's been in building for 46 years. Is that right? 46? And you're going to build it up in 3. So there's this common thread throughout John's gospel that people didn't believe him, his own brothers, John 7:5, and that people misunderstood his words. And I think sometimes misunderstood willingly. This is the disciple who testifies of these things and wrote these things, and we know that his testimony is true. So now John identifies himself as the author of the book. He identifies himself as the one who is at the table. Back in John 13, he's the disciple here. There's no question about who wrote this book. Final verse. There are also many other things that Jesus did, which, if they were written one by one, I suppose that even the world itself could not contain the books that would be written. Amen. That's what you call hyperbole. Hyperbole looks like hyperbole. Hyperbole it's an exaggeration for the sake of emphasizing something. And Jesus does that more than once, and other writers do it too. I tell you, well, I'll just give you another example of another Bible writer doing this. You go to Psalm chapter 51 where David is lamenting his sin, and it's specifically his sin with Bathsheba. He talks about, let's say, Psalm 51 and verse 5. Is that the right verse? Yeah. Behold, I was brought forth in iniquity, and in sin my mother conceived me. Of course, a lot of people take that verse to mean sinful nature. You're born with a proclivity to commit sin because of Adam's sin, and that's passed down. Well, to show you it's hyperbole, that he's exaggerating for the sake of emphasis, all you have to do is keep reading. Psalm 51:7. Purge me with hyssop and I shall be clean. Was God literally going to come down out of heaven and wash David's physical body with this weed that grew in Palestine? Well, of course not. Wash me and I will be whiter than snow. Okay. Nobody's going to be whiter than snow. Make me hear joy and gladness, that the bones you have broken may rejoice. God didn't break any of David's bones. So hyperbole is not uncommon in Scripture. We need to be able to have the discernment to see. So a biblical text, here's a good rule of thumb. A biblical text, it needs to be read literally unless the context demands some other type of reading. Like here in John 21:25. If everything Jesus did was written down, the world itself could not contain the books. I mean, just think of that for a second. He only did miracles for 3 years. Could the world itself not contain the books? Obviously, an exaggeration for the sake of emphasis. But that's why John wrote, and I think that's kind of the point. You go back again to John 20, verses 30 and 31. He did many other things that are not written, but these are written that you might believe. So he did do a great deal. There's no question about that. But this is hyperbole. Guys, that's John's gospel. I have enjoyed going through it. It's been a while since I've taught through it, and hopefully you guys have benefited something from it. We're going to shut her down a little early today. So appreciate you tuning in. Again, if you would please, give the video a thumbs up. Starting Monday, we're going to be studying the book of Jeremiah from my desk here. Again, I'll have to figure out how I'm going to break that up because, well, it's big. There's a lot of stuff in Jeremiah. There's a lot of, the first video, maybe first 2 videos will be historical background, learning about Jeremiah himself, the times and things like this. Maybe that'll just be the first video, but I'll figure out how I'm going to break it down. We will be live tonight on our Facebook page, Church of Christ at Mammoth Spring at 7 Central. We're going to do Leviticus 24 and 25. I was going to try to finish Leviticus tonight, but chapters 24 through 27, man, there's just way too much information in there. So tonight we're going to do 24 and 25. If you don't have somewhere to be, maybe you're in a location that does not meet on Wednesday nights or you're not able to get out because of your health, join us at 7 Central, and that's what we'll be looking at. All right, guys. Thanks for being here today. I'll start advertising on our Facebook page about the Jeremiah study, and y'all can share that if you want to on Facebook. But appreciate you being here. Appreciate you walking through the book of John with me, and I hope it's been beneficial to you. Hope you have a good day, and I want to see you back in here on Monday at 2 o'clock.